You know, when we think about what shapes a nation's destiny, we usually think of armies or politicians or big economic shifts. But what if one of the most significant moves a country ever made was pulled off by a small group of scientists? Today, we're diving into the absolutely incredible story of Pakistan's National Institute of Oceanography.
But before we get into all that, let me throw a question out there for you. When you picture a country's territory, what do you see? Probably land, right? Borders on a map? But what about its most valuable and maybe its most hidden frontier?
Well, for a country like Pakistan, that frontier, it's not on land. It's out of sight, deep beneath the waves of the North Arabian Sea. This is what we're calling the Blue Frontier, and the key to unlocking it is the National Institute of Oceanography, or NIO for short.
Now, to really get a handle on just how ambitious the NIO is, we have to start somewhere completely unexpected. Not in the warm Arabian Sea, but in the single coldest place on the entire planet. It's a wild first chapter to their story.
So, check this out. The NIO gets its start back in 1981, created to focus on Pakistan's own marine research. But then, just a decade later, in 1991, they do something truly audacious. They launch a full-blown expedition to Antarctica and establish the Jinnah Antarctic Station.
And you've got to understand, this was way more than just a science trip. This was a huge statement on the world stage. It made Pakistan the very first Muslim-majority country to have a permanent scientific base on the continent. I mean, that put the NIO in the big leagues, among an elite group of international research bodies, almost overnight.
So after proving they could hang with the best in the coldest place on Earth, the IO turned its attention back home. And this is where they took on their most monumental achievement, a mission that would literally, and I mean literally, redraw the map of Pakistan.
And listen, this was no small task. This was a quest. It took over a decade. First, they had to survey the ocean floor using really complex seismic and mapping tech. Then, from all that data, they built these incredibly detailed underwater maps. And finally, the last crucial step. They had to walk into the United Nations with a mountain of scientific evidence and argue their case. And in 2015, they won.
So what was the big prize? What did all that work actually get them? This. 50,000. A staggering 50,000 additional square kilometers of seabed added directly to Pakistan's sovereign territory.
Now, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around a number that big, right? So let's put it in perspective. The new territory that Pakistan gained is larger than the entire country of Denmark. Think about that for a second. The NIO didn't just conduct research. They made the nation itself bigger. And why is that such a huge deal? Well, it's all about the future. This one achievement secured Pakistan's rights over potentially massive reserves of oil, gas, and all sorts of valuable minerals that are locked away down there. It is an economic and strategic legacy that's going to last for generations.
And that legacy isn't just a line on a map collecting dust. Nope. Today, the NIO's deep expertise is being put to work on some of Pakistan's most critical modern projects, directly powering its economy.
The Institute can do all this because it has all the bases covered, what they call their 5 pillars. You've got geologists hunting for minerals, biologists managing marine life, chemists keeping an eye on pollution, physicists tracking climate patterns, and technologists building the gear to do it all. The whole shebang, all working together.
And here's where you see that expertise in action. They're providing the hard science for massive projects like CPEC in the Godar port. They are leading the charge on what's called the blue economy, searching for those offshore resources. And just as important, their data powers the national tsunami warning system and helps the country figure out how to adapt to climate threats. This is absolutely critical stuff.
So when you put it all together, what's the real legacy of this unique scientific institution? It's a legacy written on maps, it's felt in the economy, and it's hidden deep beneath the waves.
It all comes back to this big idea of the blue frontier. The work of the NIO has fundamentally changed how Pakistan sees its own ocean. It's not just a border anymore, it's a vast territory brimming with potential for science, for economic growth, and for national strategy.
Let's just break down that impact one last time. Territorially, they added an area bigger than a European country. Economically, they're the scientific engine for the entire blue economy. Security-wise, their data helps keep the coastline safe. And for prestige, they put Pakistan in the very exclusive club of Antarctic research nations. It's an incredible scorecard. So from the ice of Antarctica to the depths of the Arabian Sea, a scientific institute has quietly and profoundly shaped a nation's destiny. And that really leaves us with one final thought.
As all of us increasingly look to the oceans for answers, for energy, for resources, for our future, what other secrets will Pakistan's blue frontier reveal next?